So last night was the second night of the Republican National Convention, and one of the speakers was former Florida Attorney General and Trump defense attorney Pam Bondi. And what she talked about in her 6 minute speech is how Joe Biden is corrupt and basically is guilty of nepotism. Take a look.
At the Democrats' convention, we were told to look at Joe Biden as the model of integrity. But when you look at his 47-year career in politics, the people who benefited are his family members, not the American people. Let's take a closer look. We all know about Joe's son, Hunter Biden. A corrupt Ukrainian oligarch put Hunter on the board of his gas company, even though he had no experience in Ukraine or in the energy sector. None. Yet he was paid millions to do nothing. Hunter only resigned from that board just before his dad announced his campaign for president. Now let's talk about China. Fact: Joe Biden flew to China on Air Force Two with Hunter along for the ride. They said he was just there as a family member, but we know that's untrue. In Beijing, Hunter didn't just go sightseeing. He had meetings with his Chinese bank partners. Hunter even arranged for his dad to meet with one of the partners. 10 days later, those Chinese communist bankers approved millions to go to Hunter's firm. There have been numerous press reports that have shown other close Biden family members benefited from Joe's 47-year political career. Joe Biden was point person on Iraq. The president of a construction firm met with Biden's team in the White House, and then who did they hire to build thousands of houses in Iraq? Joe Biden's close family member. These aren't isolated incidents. It is a deliberate pattern of conduct. And that's just what he did as vice president. Imagine what he'd do as president.
Yeah, imagine what he would do as president. Appoint family members to be in his cabinet as, advisors and things like. Oh, wait, we already have that. Look, it's pretty funny to have someone at the RNC talk about nepotism, which, by the way, is actually a real problem in politics. We see it all the time. We see corruption. We see special deals for families. We just see, family names carry a lot of weight in dynastic politics. And so all of that are actually legitimate problems. But at the same time, it's kind of the wrong family and wrong person to kind of point that out. I mean, look, it was pointed out, interestingly enough, that half of the keynote speakers at Tuesday night's RNC were literal Trump family members. And so, look, this graphic kind of points it out. So, look, take a look. Pam Bondi talking about nepotism. And here you've got next Tiffany, Eric, and Melania. Oops. And look, that's just, okay, whatever, speakers, right? Like if the Biden brought up a bunch of people to go and speak with, on behalf of him at the DNC, or if he had, okay, who cares, right? But you want to talk about nepotism? Let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation, okay? So I mentioned the two advisors, Jared and Ivanka Trump. What do they do in the White House? They're advisors of the president, right? So what have they done? Nothing. Really nothing of value. Jared Kushner is just as incompetent as his father-in-law, Donald Trump. And by the way, he's in charge of peace in the Middle East. What has he done? How's that going? Not very well, actually. Now, Ivanka, she's supposed to be empowering women and to be a moderating force on her father. Well, how's that going? Also, unsurprisingly, not very well. Mary Trump, by the way, Donald Trump's niece, said this about Ivanka, quote, "She doesn't do anything. She spouts bromides on social media, but either she tries to have an impact and fails, or just isn't interested in having an impact at all. I can't think of one thing she's done to show that she's moderate or a moderating influence." I can't think of one thing. Using her family connections to get favorable trade deals with China. Yeah, I notice how Pam Bondi's like, I can't believe they would do meet deals with the Chinese Communist Party. Oh my God. And yet, when President Donald Trump was meeting with President Xi of China, Ivanka was able to get favorable deals for her merchandise. Interesting how that works out. Gee, using her family connections to get special deals for herself and her businesses? No, she would never. As for Jared Kushner, he used his connections to try to prop up his money pit of a property in New York City as he slumlords during a deadly pandemic that his father has done nothing about. Nothing. But yeah, okay, let's have a conversation about Hunter Biden. Okay, I'm open to that conversation. Why? It's because I don't like corruption, regardless of party. So I'm completely fair and transparent about that. That's why I think Biden was actually a really poor choice for the Democratic nominee, because he has all of this baggage, this systemic corruption, as opposed to Trump's personal corruption. So again, Biden made some money off the Ukrainian gas company because he's a Biden. Were they definitely trying to curry favor? Of course. Yes, the Ukrainian government, kind of corrupt. There's some corruption going on there. And so is the American government. I know, big surprise, right? And so, again, we talk about this systemic corruption that happens both in Ukraine as well as in America. Yeah, we can have that conversation. I would love to root out all the corruption. But again, this is the pot calling the kettle black. The Trumps are also making money off their family name and off of politics. And so that whole family is basically in on the grift. And so, yes, I don't like the Hunter Biden thing, but you're definitely calling the pot calling the kettle black. So now, speaking of that, right? Pam Bondi, really bad spokesperson for this, because Pam Bondi was actually going to look into Donald Trump's shady university when she was AG of Florida. Then she received a $25,000 donation from the Donald Trump Foundation, and later on, she shut down that investigation. By the way, the Trump Foundation is a sham charity group that once spent thousands of dollars on a picture of Donald Trump. So, you want to talk about corruption? We got corruption everywhere, and it's in the White House right now. So now, I'm sure Pam Bondi's going to be very happy to have that conversation on that corruption, right? Right? Wouldn't it be nice to actually have a presidential candidate on either side to not be somewhat corrupt? That said, the level of corruption by the Trumps is unusual in the fact that it's much greater and much more transparent than other presidents. So that said, Pam Bondi, this did not get received well on social media. So I'm going to give you a couple of responses here. One person said Pam Bondi is currently complaining about nepotism as she supports a man who inherited a fortune from his father and hired his daughter's husband as senior advisor, Kushner, of course. Another person pointed out the RNC seriously followed up Pam Bondi's anti-nepotism speech with one given by the president's daughter, who, by the way, also is set to inherit millions of dollars from her father, as well as, of course, getting an excellent education. But she says, well, I mean, coronavirus, I definitely have been impacted by that, and the fact that it's going to be really hard for me to get a job. So I sympathize and I can empathize. I can see where everybody is, having a difficult time finding a job. No, you've got millions of dollars. Shut up. You're not helping, Tiffany. One other person says speech by Pam Bondi about the evils of nepotism, followed by speech by Tiffany Trump. And finally, talk about hypocrisy. Pam Bondi lambasting Biden's nepotism with Tiffany, Eric, and Melania coming up next at the convention. And of course, there are many more, but you kind of get the gist of it here. This is what the Republican Party has become. This is what they are. are, they're the home of hypocrites, conspiracy theorists, perpetual victims, and of course, if you watch the first night, fascists.